that the debate format is useful for actually making an informed decision about picking a president?
I think that's part of the way the media spins it, is that it's like it's a wrestling match or a boxing match, right? But that's kind of like the typical narrative for a debate. I mean, mano y mano. I think outside of that, if you could strip away the media control and just have two guys who are engaging in a discussion with one another about, this is my plan, this is your plan. I think part of the process is knowing objectively your opponent's perspectives on things, and I think part of the reason that the debates don't go as well as we would like them to go is because there's biases that each candidate has, or misconstrued information that each candidate has, that really clouds their judgment.
I feel like a debate allows each candidate to express what they feel and gives the other candidate the opportunity to respond to that.
I think it's not a good format for picking president, because I think you're kind of throwing these two candidates and into this arena. And I mean, of course, the person challenging the incumbent, they don't have anything to kind of, no one can be like, oh, well, you don't actually believe that. That's not actually your policy. That's not what you're actually going to do. You can't predict the future. And so I think there's a lot more potential and a flexibility for lying there. And I think that that's not really your best bet. Of course, you can look up. You can go on each of their websites and kind of look at their different policies and platforms. But I think at the end of the day, something like the debates, I think at this point is probably one of the better options people have in terms of it's on TV anyway, and I'm already sitting down. This is my chance to see these two candidates, have them talk about what they potentially want to do.
No, I just feel like, when we're picking our presidents, we should see, what they have done. And I feel like debates, they can just go in there and bullshit the whole thing,
Oh, God.
And so, I'm sorry, I don't know if we... and so that's how I feel about the debate process.
I do, but in this case, I feel like this debate was very flawed, because they had their time limits that they're supposed to stick to, but it was very much kind of interrupting and it wasn't really a debate as much of just an argument, in my opinion. It was very back and forth, and they didn't really stick to the guidelines of the debate, the format, so it's kind of disappointing.
Well, what did they have? The two opening statements, and then they were just fighting with each other, and I just don't think anything new came out of it. And when you do a debate this close to the election, I guess they're trying to get the undecided vote, but a lot of people went in knowing who they want as president. They watch it, they laugh about it, and then that's it. Nothing really came out of it.
Yeah, I do, because I wouldn't follow up the politics in the news or anything, so just watching an hour of it was good for me.
The
personally.
news doesn't always give you, they just kind of give you the top headlines. They don't really go in depth as in a debate. The candidates don't really have the chance to really explain themselves, I guess. On the news, it's just very brief.
Anyone can go up there and say, oh, I plan on doing this, I plan on doing that, but if it doesn't get done, then, it's useless.
I think that it has the potential to be really informative for people. It's on TV, it's interesting, but at the same time, it can be really misleading to someone who's not informed and hasn't done their own research aside. I know, for instance, there's a website that fact checked during it, and I was on that, and there was a lot of discrepancies between what people were saying and what the facts were saying. And if you weren't aware of that, then that could be really bad for someone. Could be really misinforming someone. So I think it really depends on how the candidates use it, and how savvy people are when they are listening to them.
I guess I would like to hear a little bit more about policies directly pertaining to the economy. I know just on kind of an uprise from the recession, jobs are starting to be created and things like that, but I didn't hear as much on future goals or future plans.
I'm trying to think of the population of people that are watching this, and how many people are really sitting down tonight I'm going to make the decision of who I'm going to vote for. This is where it's just hard for me to imagine someone who is that politically inclined and is that aware and is really on the fence about who they want to vote for. And I think it ultimately comes down to, it's kind of I don't really think it's like an informative process. It's more like another advertisement, another opportunity for the candidates to be like, I'm better than X or Y.
Do you think that the two-party system is useful?
I feel like nothing's getting done. No, they're not agree. Congress, like in Congress, is very divided. Nothing's getting done because everyone's just too worried about their party and themselves and getting themselves reelected. And I just think the parties need to put that aside and do what's best for the country.
And I feel like some of those other parties, I think it would be beneficial to us as a country if some of those other parties got the publicity and was able to really get their viewpoint out versus always Democratic.
I agree. I think parties are leading to the demise of the American political system. I'm all for parliamentary democracies. We got to get those views out there.
I don't really know what alternative we would have, what other option. But even though I'm definitely leaning in a specific direction, I don't like the partisanship that exists, because if you can't come to the middle on absolutely anything, that's just ridiculous. Nothing is going to ever happen. Just like the inability to compromise, I think that's just crippling to our nation. Like, if we want to get anything done, it's not going to happen if there isn't compromise. So I would say that I think people need to come to the center more. It's just, if things are going to happen, people need to be more flexible with what their intentions are.
I don't know what would be the alternative. Like monarchy. And I think I was telling my friends this the other day. I was like, I don't personally think that you're really voting for a president. I think you're voting for a party.
I have no idea how to fix it with the current things, the current institutions that are in place. I have no idea how you're gonna get rid of just having two huge blanket parties and really getting everyone's views expressed. Because there's such an independent middle that's probably really the majority of the United States that just doesn't get heard. So I don't know how to fix it.
People have actually told me out loud that my own arguments are castrated because I don't take a stand. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not a liberal or conservative. I'm like, well, I want to explore reality. I want to ask questions. I want to investigate what's possible. And why is that such a bad thing? It's almost like if you don't come out guns blazing like I'm right and you guys are all wrong and get out the way or get beat up. It's a very strange political environment that we've set for ourselves. And so these questions, this blog, everything about what we're trying to do here is kind of like, well, okay, based on what I don't believe everyone is just like on this black and white side of the fence. And so it's good to hear, and it's refreshing to see two friends who actually, don't see eye to eye on everything, but, have an ability to kind of deal with on that level. How can we disagree, but not be polar opposites, not be at ends with each other?